Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home. Welcome, everybody, to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive. Yes, if you're alive, let's celebrate. Woo! We're above ground. There's always hope when we're above ground. So there's so much to be grateful for. And gratitude is an amazing, it's just amazing healing balm, right? Like we can all dip into self-pity or think about the things that aren't going right, but let's just think for a second. I'm going to do this with you right now. Breathe and think about what's going right. If you're listening to this podcast right now, you have the luxury of time to be listening to a podcast. That's something, right? If you're in the car, you have the luxury of driving a car. If you are feeling pretty good and you made it to work today, hey, that's something to celebrate. And if you have people in your life that love you, let's celebrate that. Don't you feel better already? That is the power of gratitude, focusing on the right things. What we focus on grows. So let's focus on the good things and see those grow in our lives. Okay, back to my intro. It is a great day to be alive. And I have an amazing guest today who has been on before, and she's so great. And the information she shares is so vital for we emotional eaters that I wanted to have her back. First, I want to say, before I introduce Dr. Amie, I want to say if you haven't taken the quiz, the emotional eating and food addiction quiz, you can go to the website, healyourhunger.com, and take the quiz. And on this quiz, you will be given, if you take it, it takes like 3 minutes, you'll be given a personalized score to find out if you're an emotional eater or a food addict or somewhere in between. So start there. It's a great place to start. It's, very informative. You'll know where you are on the spectrum of emotional eating. And that's great. And then you'll get next steps after that. Also, we often put our the first to hear news in the Secret Sauce group. So that's on Facebook. It's the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating. And that's super important. And lastly, we have something really cool coming up. It's Make Peace with Food. It's a 3-day retreat where we will do a deep dive into your relationship with food and how to heal. Community, connection, fun, surprises, but most of all, extreme concentration on you and how to heal your relationship with food. I've got you. I'm giving you incredible information, but also an opportunity to connect with other emotional eaters in this 3-day event. So much fun. Do not miss it. It's transformational. You will not be the same person at the end of the 3 days as you were when you started on hour 1. It's all online. You could attend from anywhere in the world. Go to makepeacewithfood.com. Okay, makepeacewithfood.com and join us there. Super, super cool. Okay, on with the show. Dr. Amie Hornaman is amazing. She's the thyroid fixer, and she's host of the top-rated podcast in medicine and alternative health. The Thyroid Fixer has listeners around the globe. She's the founder of the Institute for Thyroid and Hormone Optimization. And she helps people regulate their thyroids, their metabolism and everything that's necessary for really having the most energy, the best metabolism, and just the best overall health. So you're going to love her and what she has to share about how to feel better right now. I can't wait for you to meet her. Let's do this. Welcome, Dr. Amie. I am so happy you're here. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Well, thank you, Tricia. I love being here and I love your audience. They're fantastic people.
Thank you. And I love yours as well. Your ladies are awesome. And it's such an important topic for the Heal Your Hunger community because we're emotional eaters, and we're eating things that spike our blood sugar and mess with our metabolism, and certainly dysregulate our bodies, including our thyroids. So you're my go-to for thyroid health. So thank you for coming back on. Thanks for talking about this topic. Now, when you came on the last show, which was, for those who want to check it out, was episode 389. When you came on before, we talked about a cool product that you're coming out with, and then it came out. You sent me some. Thank you. It's called the Thyroid Fixer. What are you hearing about that? I kind of want to hear that. I know I should probably wait till later in the show, but screw that. Let's talk about it. What are people saying about the product?
Oh, I love it. So we're getting like crazy responses. We'll get messages on Facebook. People will post it. Of course, they'll do the reviews and all of that. But the big takeaways that this product does, increasing basal metabolic rate. So we'll have users write in and say, I've tried everything in the past. This is the only thing that I'm finally seeing the scale move. And it feels like I'm a normal human being. Like I can eat like a normal human being, not restrict, which I know is huge in your community. We don't want to diet. We don't want to restrict our food because we want to keep a healthy metabolism. Well, this is allowing people to live life. I mean, of course, yes, just like you said in the beginning, we don't want to be eating a ton of sugar and be binging and doing cheat days every other day
Right.
and think that Thyroid Fixer is going to help that. But
Right.
when it's combined with a normal, clean way of eating that's not restrictive, people are losing weight. They're also seeing more steady energy. And this is one thing that I even noticed with myself. There was a day or two last week that, oh my gosh, I was just dragging. And I'm like, you know what? I have some Thyroid Fixer right behind me. And I reached back and I grabbed the bottle and I opened it. And it gave me just that, like, oh, that nice steady energy through the day. It's not a stimulant, but it works at the mitochondrial level, which we'll get into the nitty gritty. But just that nice steady energy. I've heard about improvements in sleep, improvements in blood sugar regulation and insulin levels. That's all tied to thyroid dysfunction anyways. It's tied to a lot of us. Many of us are insulin resistant. So those are the big things that we're hearing from the community.
I love it. Congratulations on a formulation that's really helping people in such a nice and healthy way. So I really love that. And let's now get into kind of foundationally why we need help with thyroid and blood sugar and so on.
Right. So thyroid, the master gland of your body, it runs your metabolism. So the thyroid gland dictates whether or not you gain weight looking sideways at a brownie. And I know many of us, when I say that, you laugh, right? But so many of us have been there. It's like,
Trust me, I know all about it.
right. I mean, I've been there, right? It's like, oh man, I haven't had my favorite dessert in 6 months. And here it is. And I take a bite and I get on the scale the next day and it's 10 pounds up, 5 pounds up. I mean, it's legitimate. And that's really where the thyroid is controlling that metabolism regulation. It's controlling your sex hormones. It's controlling your blood sugar regulation. So your insulin and glucose. It controls that. I will have patients that have a dysregulated thyroid. They're wearing a CGM and they have these crazy numbers. They're like, why is my A1C a 5.7 and I'm getting 140, 180 readings on my CGM, but I'm eating low carb and I've eliminated sugars? It comes back to the thyroid. The thyroid is basically saying it doesn't matter what you eat, how you take care of yourself. I am off. I am low and slow. So therefore, your whole body is going to be low and slow. You could do the most perfect diet in the world. And it doesn't matter. Do all the lifestyle changes in the world. And it's not going to matter if the thyroid gland says, sorry, I'm not working very well.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And we do have a ton of diabetics, pre-diabetics listening. And so this is so, so important. So thanks for explaining that. I know for myself, I do take thyroid medication. My my body, I would take a little bit, not much, of T4 and T3.
Yeah.
And it's been working for me for a while. My energy's good. My metabolism's, pretty good. I mean, I'm not a normal person. I have a, less than ideal metabolism, being somebody who gains weight super, super easy. So that's why I was
Right.
laughing at looking at the brownie sideways.
I know.
Yeah. So somebody who, I just want to cover for those who aren't really sure about how, like, whether they have thyroid issues. What are some of the symptoms of somebody who doesn't take thyroid medication, hasn't been diagnosed with hyperthyroid or hypothyroid? Can you talk a little bit about the symptoms?
Right. So beyond the weight gain and the inability to lose weight, we have fatigue, just that crushing fatigue, can't get through your day, even after a good night's sleep. Hair loss is a big one. Losing the outer corner of your eyebrows is a big one. Dry skin, brittle nails, constipation, because you have to think that when we say hypo, think low and slow. So everything is slowed by how the food moves through your bowels, slowed down, i.e. constipation. Your energy, your mitochondria function, your ATP production slow down, hence the fatigue, metabolism slow, hence the weight gain. So everything is low and slow.
Okay.
And then the kind of wackadoodle symptoms that they don't hit everyone, but it's worth mentioning: joint pain, frozen shoulder, an increased histamine reaction. So increased allergies, rashes. Those are kind of the symptoms that are over here that some people really do fall into, and they will see improve when we improve their thyroid function.
Cool. I love that. Some mystery symptoms you might be having that, arrows could direct to thyroid. So, talk to me a little bit about the energy situation. So, I mean, you just mentioned that with hypothyroid, but so many women. I mean, I will say one thing I have to mention is, as emotional eaters, we tend to be not only overeaters but overdoers. So don't overlook that. Don't think it's just a physical thing. It could be just that you're doing too much because you're afraid to say no because you're a people pleaser. Okay, there, I said it. I had to say it. We got to cover it. Okay. You can't overcome your living problem with a supplement. You have to change how you live.
Right.
But people pleasing and overdoing aside, there are people who are experiencing low energy, and it's like every day is a slog in spite of how much sleep they're getting. Mm-hmm. So, and this is, I mean, you made reference to this, but I just want to dig into it a little bit more if you could.
I'm glad you do bring it up, and I'm glad you say what you say to your audience, because I do the same thing. I talk a lot about thyroid. I talk a lot about hormones. I don't want everyone to think that it's just more thyroid medication that's needed, another supplement, another pill. Sometimes it is lifestyle. Sometimes you do have to step back and say, am I doing all of the things, or am I expecting a pill to take care of it? So yes, you absolutely have to look at all the things: protein intake, overdoing, stress level, how you're sleeping. Are you going to bed by 10 p.m.? Are you getting that deep sleep between 10 and 2? Drinking enough water is another factor in fatigue. I had a patient reach out to me. He's like, I'm really tired. Do you think I need more T3? I go, well, how much protein are you drinking? Are you drinking enough water? The simple things. She goes, oh, yeah. Well, I haven't been drinking as much. I've been slacking. I've been working a lot. I'm not eating my protein. I'm not going to. She changed that. And then 2 weeks later was like, my energy's back.
So I know. And we need the reminders, like we all do. I need to be reminded to drink more water and get a little bit more sleep. So thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah. So we have to cover the basics.
Yep.
And if you check all the boxes, then if you say, yes, I'm doing all the things. Okay. Then we look at, what's your T3 level, your free T3 level, because T3 is the active thyroid hormone. It's one of the thyroid hormones that we can measure with a lab test. So we look at that and we say, is that optimal or not? And optimal is in the upper quadrant of the range. And Tricia and I went over that on the last podcast, but it's worth mentioning now. Free T3, optimal, upper quadrant of the range. So just because you fall into that standard lab value range of normal does not mean that you're optimal. So we want that upper quadrant. And then we want to look at that reverse T3 and see if that's above a 12. We want it below a 12. If it's above a 12, your body is actually in survival mode. It's like it shuts down. It thinks that you are fighting for your life in the ER. And when our bodies, because our bodies are so smart, when our bodies are in that trauma injury state, our bodies know you don't need to lose weight. You don't need to grow your hair. You don't need to have energy. You don't need to feel good. You need to lay there and survive. But what if our body goes into survival mode when we're not injured, when we're not in the ER or the ICU? And that's where we look at that reverse T3 marker, because that is our body's built-in survival protection mechanism. We don't want it elevated when you're walking around trying to live life. So that's another marker of fatigue as it relates to thyroid function.
Wow, I love that. You've got a great way of explaining things, Amie. I really like it's really computing. I'm not a scientific minded person. I'm all about emotions, of course. So I love when you take the science and you put it into very good bite-sized concepts, pun intended. So let's get back to what you were saying about the thyroid fixer and why this is I assume, your best-selling product.
It is. It's T2. So thyroid fixer is T2. The big, long chemical name for it is 3,5-diodo-L-threonine. Now, this is actually a hormone. So your thyroid gland produces T1, T2, T3, T4. We mentioned T3 as being an active thyroid hormone that we like to test. T4 is actually inactive. So T4 has to do this conversion process to become T3, to be active, to connect to that lock and key mechanism on your cell, that the cells have a receptor site on them for T3. Now, it also turns out that your cells have a receptor site for T2. T2 is produced by the thyroid gland, but it's not measurable. We have assays, we have tests for it when it's in a clinical trial. So we have tested T2 in clinical trials, but it's not like you can walk into Quest or LabCorp and get tested for T2. It doesn't exist yet, but we're seeing it. I've been studying this for about 15 years, and we're really seeing the potential anti-obesity benefits of T2. We're seeing the energy boosting mitochondrial protection benefits of T2. And I'm going to go over the benefits of T2 versus T3 as we compare the two. Number one, when I first started studying T2, it came out in the bro science world. So for those of you who don't know what bro science is, like the angry bodybuilding, powerlifting supplements, the ones that have like angry names, like, cannibal, chaos, terror, right?
The bro supplements. I love that.
This is the angry supplements. And so I was using this with my patients back then because, truthfully, bodybuilders are the OG of biohacking. So all these biohackers out there, the Ben Greenfield, the Dave Aspreys of the world, love them to death, but bodybuilders did it first. We experiment. I say we because I was in that world. We experimented on ourselves with peptides, with supplements, with T2, long before all y'all heard about them. So back in the day, the trainers to these professional athletes were using T2 instead of T3 because they knew it would burn body fat, get people to their leanest look, but not burn off their muscle, not shut down their thyroid function and have them come out the other side of show prep with a thyroid disorder and not affect the cardiovascular system. Now, let me compare that to let's just talk about the abuse of T3. Bodybuilders would use T3 as a fat loss drug. Okay. And they would end up again on the others. Yeah, they would lose weight, but they would also lose muscle. They would have cardiovascular issues, high heart rate, heart palpitations. So they were doing damage just to get to this lean look for stage. Enter T2, it takes away all of those side effects. And they come out the other side without a thyroid problem, without a cardiovascular problem, and they're able to actually protect their muscles. So on the other side of that show prep, they're not putting on 20 and 30 pounds like many of the bodybuilders do. So it started back then. So I started using it with my patients. And I started using it with people that were maybe on T4 only, the inactive form. And that's where I would really see a lot of my ladies get stuck. They weren't improving. Their symptoms weren't improving. They were staying in that hypothyroid state. So I said, okay, well, let's add this in. And, just bear with me that you have to buy an angry name supplement, but let's try this and see what happens. And I would try it. I wish I would have documented it as an actual study, because I probably could have gotten it published.
Right.
We saw huge improvements in all symptom markers. So weight loss finally happened. Energy improved. Hair started coming back. Sleep improved. So I was like,
Wow.
okay, well, this is really cool. And I mean, believe me, I would use it too, because just like you, metabolism wise, I struggled for many, many years. I think I'm finally optimized now that I have, a good balance where I'm not yo-yoing, I'm not putting up, but I feel pretty optimized, but I will still use thyroid fixer for, if I'm on vacation, I'm eating out at restaurants a lot where I can't control the food. I'll put that in just to keep that metabolism going, keep my energy going. But using it with my patients was the biggest eye-opening factor for me. So then I started diving into the research. The research shows, again, no thyromimetic effect, meaning it's not going to change your thyroid labs to where your doctor then says, oh my gosh, you're hyper instead of hypo. You're hyper. And we need to cut back on your thyroid medication. You're going, doc, I finally feel good. Like I'm finally at the point here where everything is working and I'm losing weight and I'm happy and my brain's lit up and I'm back to life. And they go, no, no, no. Your thyroid labs look hyper, so we're going to pull your meds. It doesn't do that. T3 will do that, but T2 does not. So no thyromimetic effect.
Okay.
No cardiovascular effect, like we said. And one study showed in 28 days of use, there is a 4% reduction in body fat, not 4 pounds, 4%. Another study actually showed a 9-pound average weight loss in 28 days, but 4% of body fat, that's huge, because it really takes a while to change your body composition and just lose fat and not muscle. Like if you do a DEXA scan or your trainer does like the little pinch test of your body fat at the gym, to lose 4%, that's a big deal. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a big deal.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. So those are the markers that we were seeing in the human trials. In addition to the kind of like the other side markers were, oh, look, we're seeing improvement in insulin markers. We're seeing improvement in cholesterol, lipid panels.
Wow.
We're seeing improvement in renal function. So we saw all these other like extra bonus improvements. Like, hey, we really want the better energy, the ATP production, and the better metabolism, but oh, look, it also helps with your blood sugar regulation and your insulin resistance. So that's where it really became like fascinating to me, and just that knowledge that this could help so many people.
Yeah.
So many people
I
mean, beyond thyroid problems, even just with weight balance.
I love that. And for people's information, we have a link where you can actually access this product. It's in the show notes. It's a special link. Can you talk about what they're going to get with that?
Yeah. So if you use the link that we gave Tricia,
yes. And there's a coupon code.
There's a coupon code. You use Tricia for the coupon code and you're going to get 10% off your order. So cool. It's definitely worth a try, because it has helped so many people, so many. So beyond a big question that we get, can I take this if I don't have a known thyroid problem? Yes, you can. Okay. I mean, this was my baby. This was my flagship product. So yes, I named it Thyroid Fixer because T2 is a thyroid hormone as well. However, because it doesn't act on your thyroid gland itself, and it's not going to make you hyper or hypo, people without a diagnosed thyroid problem can't take it. If you just want better energy and better metabolism, you can take it.
Thank you for that. Thanks for the special coupon code for people. So it's a special link and a coupon code, right?
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Check out the show notes for that. Can you weigh in quickly, Amie, about how do you say it? Semaglutide?
Semaglutide. Yep.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that because I'm sure you're seeing patients who are on that or whatever. I'm just curious about your thoughts on it.
Oh, definitely.
And
So
this is just so you guys know, this is the new rage, which is Ozemic or Ozempic.
Ozempic. Yep.
Yeah,
You got the Ozempic, you got Mounjaro. They all
right,
fall under this GLP-1 drug.
right.
So the GLPs, we'll call them.
Mhm.
In the drug world, it's Ozempic, it's Trulicity, it's Mounjaro. In the peptide world, it's semaglutide, tirzepatide. Those are the
Okay.
peptide forms. So really, the drug companies just took peptides and was like, "Hey, these are actually working on people. Let's put them into a drug and charge $2,000 a month instead."
Right.
So I lovingly call the GLPs the Beverly Hills Soccer Mom drug of choice for weight loss. However, they do have their place. So I'm not bashing them. They have their place.
Sure.
Some people will use and abuse. And the use abuse, we're seeing a lot of muscle loss. We're seeing what's called Ozempic face, where you're losing the fat in your face and becoming really drawn and looking older than you actually are, because when you lose the fat in your face, you look old.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that from the people that are using it who don't need it. We're seeing tremendous results from people who are stuck, who are truly diabetic, who
Right.
have elevated A1C numbers, who maybe are doing really all the things. And man, that scale is just not budging. And we know from a health perspective, if that individual dropped 20 to 50 pounds, they would be in a much better metabolic place.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, yes, there are benefits and there are times and places where I will use the GLP-1s, but I will not allow someone who doesn't need it to use and abuse it, because you will lose muscle and you will lose facial fat.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a time and a place. We're grateful for modern science,
Mm-hmm.
that allows somebody to get unstuck. But it's not a cure all. And from my perspective, if you're a true emotional eater or food addict, and you can take the quiz on my website again and figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a whole lot more that goes with that, which affects your mental health. So it's not about the food and the weight as
Right.
much as it is your relationship with food and with yourself. And so that still has to be addressed. And, as we know in the past, no matter how much weight we lose, it doesn't make us happy when we're not
Right.
happy with ourselves. So that
I
still
would
needs to
heal
happen.
first.
Yeah.
I would absolutely go through your program and do healing before I added that on, because you really have to be in the right mental space. And my patients who do go on it, I tell them, you are now going to eat protein like it's your second job to
Okay.
protect your muscle. And
Okay.
so it's a very much a mental shift that, like, you're downing protein shakes and eating meat and whether you want to or not, to protect your
Wow.
muscle. So it's a behavioral and mental shift too. I would want them healed first
Yeah.
before they did that.
Well, and that way you have a choice of going off it, because if it's your
Oh,
only solution, you can't go off it and you're beholden to it forever. Whereas if
right.
you do heal, from the inside out, getting unstuck with your weight is great, but you don't have to be on it forever if you're no longer emotionally attached to food as a panacea for your emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for dropping by, Amie. It's so good to have you as always. I adore you. I love your energy. Your podcast is thebomb.com. So I'm definitely at the beginning of the show, I let people know about that. And people, if you want to check out the Thyroid Fixer, definitely go to the show notes and access that special coupon. And just know that you can feel better and better and better. And this show gives you lots of different ways to do that. And Dr. Amie has certainly given us something, some secret sauce right now that we can use, which is awesome. So thank you, Amie. Always so good to have you. I have one last question, this being
Yeah.
the Heal Your Hunger show. I don't know how you answered it last time, but you get another chance to
Okay.
do it again or
Do it.
differently. This being the Heal Your Hunger show, what is your deepest hunger?
Ooh, that is a good one. Okay. Well, so yeah, it's definitely shifted, because my goodness, I think we recorded like a year and a half ago or something like that. So my deepest hunger now that I have the ability, I want to help women in every single state. So now we can prescribe to every state. So that's always been my goal.
Wow.
Because it's been so hard for me. I know the importance of hormone replacement, even bioidentical hormone replacement, thyroid hormone replacement. I know the importance of getting optimized. And it would actually pain me when I would get an email from somebody in Maine and be like, can you prescribe to Maine? I'm like, no, I guess if you want to fly to California, something like that. But now we can prescribe, we can help women in every single state and even some provinces in Canada, in case you have Canadian listeners.
Wow.
So we got you covered there. And that has been honestly my hunger, is like, I knew years ago, I'm like, I'm going to be able to help women in every single state, like one way or another. We're going to do this in every single state. And now it's come to fruition.
I love that. Good for you and good for everybody. Thanks for coming on the show and having this conversation, and to be continued.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tricia.
Okay. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.